I never imagined a single phone call could turn my life upside down. My name is Olivia Carter, and the day my family told me there's no room for your daughter here is carved into my memory forever. Just 1 week after the hurricane left Houston, Texas in ruins, my 5-year-old daughter Emma and I had nowhere to go. Problem: my parents, once my safety net, coldly refused us shelter, treating my child as an inconvenience. Struggle: with debris in the streets, sleepless nights, and Emma clinging to me in fear, I felt utterly powerless. Twist: then a lawyer appeared with shocking news. My grandmother had secretly set up a trust that could shift control and wealth in ways my family never expected. Ending: I faced a choice: revenge or restraint. What would you do if someone you loved was treated as unwanted? If you want more stories like this, subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments, what would you do if you were in this situation? I never imagined my life could turn upside down in a single week. My name is Olivia Carter, and I lived in Houston, Texas, a city I'd always called home. But that week, Hurricane Delaney tore through our neighborhood, leaving streets flooded, houses shattered, and lives upended. My small apartment was cracked and unsafe. My 5-year-old daughter, Emma, clung to me with wide, frightened eyes, refusing to sleep unless my hand held hers. The phone rang. It was my parents. My heart raced, hope flaring. Maybe, just maybe, they would help us. But the words that came through shattered me like the hurricane had shattered the streets. Olivia, there's no room for your daughter here. No warmth, no hesitation, just cold, practical dismissal. My own parents treating Emma like a burden. I gripped the phone, staring at Emma's tiny, trusting face, my chest tightening. I had nowhere else to turn. The streets were unsafe, my apartment dangerous, and my family, they had closed the door. Yet, somewhere deep inside, a tiny spark of determination ignited. If no one would protect my daughter, I would protect her myself. The streets of Houston were unrecognizable, fallen power lines, debris scattered like confetti after a parade of destruction, and the faint smell of damp wood and rain filled the air. I held Emma close, her small arms wrapped around my neck, her head buried against my shoulder. Every siren made her flinch. Every gust of wind made me panic. I knew I had to try one last time. My parents' house wasn't far, a well-kept suburban home that had somehow survived the storm unscathed. I told myself they would understand. Families were supposed to protect each other, weren't they? I knocked on the door, Emma clutching her teddy bear like it was the only thing keeping her safe. My father opened it, his eyes avoiding mine. My mother followed, calm and distant, and my younger brother lingered behind them. I swallowed my fear and explained our situation. I spoke of the hurricane, the cracks in our apartment, the sleepless nights, and Emma clinging to me in fear. I felt utterly powerless, watched as my words seemed to drift through the room without landing. Then my mother shook her head, her lips tight. My father said nothing, and my brother, my own flesh and blood, uttered the words that pierced me deeper than any storm could. There's no space for her, not for both of you. Emma looked up to me, confused and hurt in her wide, innocent eyes. She didn't understand why the people who were supposed to protect her were turning her away. For a moment, I felt a wave of anger rising inside me. But instead of yelling, pleading, or crying, I did something unexpected. I nodded. Just one word. Noted. I turned, holding Emma's hand, and walked back into the chaos of the streets, feeling both defeated and strangely determined. Because in that moment, I remembered something I had almost forgotten: my grandmother's trust. A secret that had been set up years ago, ignored by everyone, including my family. And now, for the first time, it mattered. That night, I lay on the mattress in my cracked apartment, Emma curled against me, her small breaths finally even after hours of trembling. The hurricane had passed, but the fear lingered like a shadow. Every passing truck sounded like another disaster waiting to strike. My apartment felt fragile, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. I didn't know what to do. My parents had closed the door. My brother's cold indifference echoed in my mind. My daughter needed safety, and I had nothing to give her but fear and cracked walls. Then my phone buzzed, an unknown number. I hesitated, unsure if I should answer, but something inside me whispered, "This could be important." "Hello?" I said, my voice weary. A calm, professional voice replied, "Miss Carter, my name is Mr. Daniel Whitman, attorney at law. I am calling regarding a trust established by your late grandmother. It's urgent that we meet." My heart skipped a beat. A trust? My grandmother had always been quiet, observant, and careful, but I never thought it could mean anything to me now, not with the storm, the rejection, and the fear still gripping my life. "Why me?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "That's something we can discuss in person," he said, "but I assure you it changes everything you know about your family." I hung up, staring at Emma, who had tilted her head in curiosity. A glimmer of hope flickered inside me. Maybe, just maybe, the universe wasn't done yet. I didn't know what awaited me, but I knew one thing. Whatever this trust held, it might be the key to finally protecting Emma and reclaiming our lives. 3 days later, I found myself standing across the street from my parents' house. The air was heavy with tension, the quiet of the morning almost mocking after the chaos of the hurricane. Emma held my hand tightly, her small fingers warm and reassuring. I wondered if she sensed that something big, something life-changing was about to happen. A sleek black sedan glided to a stop at the gate, and a man in a crisp suit stepped out. Mr. Daniel Whitman, the lawyer from the call, carried a leather briefcase with the calm authority of someone who delivers truths people aren't ready to hear. We walked to the front door together. My parents answered, their faces polite but cautious, like they were expecting a simple discussion, not a reckoning. My brother lingered behind, trying to appear indifferent, but his eyes betrayed curiosity. Mr. Whitman cleared his throat. I am here regarding the trust established by your late mother." His voice was precise, measured, impossible to ignore. "This trust is not symbolic. It has conditions and clauses that affect all beneficiaries, and the primary authority has been granted to Olivia Carter." The room froze. My parents' composure faltered. My brother's jaw tightened. My mother's hand hovered near her mouth, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Your grandmother," the lawyer continued, "included a clause stating that any beneficiary who willfully refuses to provide reasonable aid or shelter to another direct family member in documented distress may have their discretionary benefits revoked at the trustee's judgment." I felt a strange calm settle over me. Years of feeling powerless and rejected collided with the gravity of this revelation. I had the power now, the kind my family had taken for granted all their lives. And yet, for the first time, I realized that power alone wasn't enough. What mattered most was how I chose to use it. The living room felt smaller somehow, as if the air itself was holding its breath. My parents sat stiffly on the couch, their faces pale, their eyes darting between me and the lawyer. My brother lingered behind, trying to appear indifferent, but his clenched fists betrayed him. My mother's lips trembled, as if she were about to speak, but no words came. I looked down at Emma, her small hand in mine, her eyes wide but trusting. She didn't understand the legal jargon, the clauses, or the implications of null and control. She only knew one thing: her mother would protect her. So I spoke. my voice steady despite the emotions churning inside me. I will not erase anyone's future. I will uphold the trust, but I will also restructure my life. Emma and I will have a safe home, one where she will never feel unwanted again. Gasps filled the room. Relief, disbelief, and the faintest hint of shame flickered across their faces. I didn't gloat. I simply made a choice. Mercy guided by strength, not anger. In that moment, I realized that the real inheritance wasn't just wealth. It was perspective, courage, and the power to protect my daughter no matter what. The following days were a whirlwind of planning, phone calls, and a quiet determination I hadn't realized I possessed. Emma and I began searching for a new home, somewhere safe, bright, and ours. Every apartment we visited, every street we drove through was measured not just in square footage, but in peace and security, the kind my daughter had been denied in the chaos of the hurricane and my family's rejection. I could feel a shift inside me. The fear that had held me down since my parents' refusal began to dissolve, replaced by something heavier but stronger: responsibility and resolve. I was no longer a daughter begging for space. I was a mother creating it. Even as my parents called sporadically, their voices tentative and polite, I realized boundaries were necessary. I didn't want revenge, but I would never let Emma feel unwanted again. That lesson had cost us too much already. We found a small, cozy apartment near the heart of Houston, with sunlight spilling through wide windows and enough room for Emma to run, laugh, and play freely. That first night, as I tucked her into bed, she whispered, "Mom, I feel safe." Her words were simple, but they carried the weight of every sleepless night we had endured. And for the first time in a long time, I believed it too. Because life wasn't just about survival. It was about building a space where love, trust, and safety came first. A place where Emma would never again feel like she was a burden, measured against convenience or space. Just when I thought Emma and I could finally breathe, my phone buzzed again. It was my mother. Her tone was polite but strained, the kind of politeness that always hid something. "Olivia, we'd like to talk," she said, "about the trust, about everything." I hesitated. Part of me wanted to ignore the call, to focus only on Emma and our new home, but another part, curiosity maybe, a desire for closure, made me agree. The meeting was tense. My parents arrived at the apartment, carefully avoiding Emma's eyes. My brother, as usual, tried to act casual, but his stiff posture betrayed him. They spoke of misunderstandings, of mistakes, of how they had never realized how serious the hurricane had been. But beneath their words, I could sense the real reason. They feared losing control, losing what they had always assumed was theirs. I listened quietly, letting them speak, feeling the old anger flare, but I held it back. I had power now, yes, but this wasn't about revenge. It was about setting boundaries and protecting Emma. At one point, my mother's voice trembled. "Olivia, we didn't know how much we were hurting you." I looked at Emma playing nearby, her laughter soft and pure, and I realized something crucial. My family's guilt, their explanations, their fear, it didn't erase the past, but it also didn't control our future. I said firmly, "You may never fully understand, and that's okay. But Emma and I are safe now, and that's what matters. You'll respect our boundaries, or you won't be part of her life in the same way." A hush fell over the room. My parents had learned something they hadn't expected. Mercy could be stronger than fear, and love could demand respect. With the new apartment settled and Emma finally laughing again, I turned my attention to the trust. Mr. Daniel Whitman had left me with piles of documents, contracts, and financial statements that seemed overwhelming at first, but as I read through them, a sense of clarity began to take shape. This was more than money or property. This was power, responsibility, and a chance to rewrite the narrative my family had imposed on me for years. I could hear my parents' voices in my head, their disbelief, their anger at the unexpected shift in control. But I was no longer a powerless daughter. I was Olivia, the mother of Emma, the trustee in her own right, the architect of our future. I called the lawyer and began making decisions, carefully, deliberately. Assets were organized, investments reviewed, boundaries clearly established. I even added provisions ensuring Emma would never feel a burden, never feel unwanted, and always have a safe, nurturing home. Word spread quickly. My parents realized slowly that their assumptions no longer held sway. They had treated Emma as an inconvenience, but now I had the final say. Yet, as much as the power thrilled me, I knew that restraint and perspective mattered more than revenge. I could punish them, yes, but I chose wisdom over wrath. Watching Emma play in our sunlit living room, I understood the truth my grandmother had always known. Wealth and control mean nothing without compassion and courage. And in that moment, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. A sense that, finally, we were truly safe. A week later, my parents arrived at the apartment again. This time, their faces were etched with a mix of fear, shame, and curiosity. They had seen the changes, the restructuring of the trust, the clear boundaries I had set, and for the first time, I saw the consequences of their choices reflected in their expressions. They tried to speak, but the words felt hollow. My mother opened her mouth, then closed it. My father, silent as usual, shifted uncomfortably in his chair. My brother fidgeted, unable to meet Emma's eyes. I sat calmly, Emma playing nearby, blissfully unaware of the tension. It was surreal. The same people who dismissed her as a burden were now powerless in the face of my choices. I understand that what happened was painful for everyone, I began, my voice steady. But the past cannot undo the trust, nor can it erase the boundaries I've set. Emma's safety and well-being come first. I hope you can respect that. My mother's eyes filled with tears. My father finally spoke, voice low. Olivia, we didn't realize how much we were hurting you. I held up a hand. This isn't about punishment. It's about accountability. You had a choice when Emma and I were at our most vulnerable, and you chose convenience over care. Now, the consequences are clear. Learn from this, change, or accept the boundaries I've set. There was silence, a silence heavy with understanding, regret, and the reality of how their choices had shaped our lives. And for the first time, I felt true liberation, not through revenge, not through anger, but through clarity, courage, and compassion. Emma looked up, smiling, and in that smile, I saw the future, safe, loving, and entirely ours. The days that followed felt like the first breath after a storm. Emma and I had settled into our new home in Houston, sunlight streaming through wide windows and laughter echoing off the walls. Every corner of our apartment reminded me of the journey we had survived, the fear, the rejection, the sleepless nights, and the strength we had discovered within ourselves. I often watched Emma play, free and joyful, and remembered the way she had clung to me that first night after the hurricane. She had trusted me completely, and I had realized that protecting her meant more than walls, locks, or money. It meant courage, wisdom, and love. Occasionally, my parents and brother reached out. They expressed remorse and curiosity about how we were doing. I listened, acknowledged them briefly, but I knew our lives would never revolve around their approval. Boundaries had been set, lessons had been learned, and Emma and I had our own path to follow. I also realized that my grandmother's trust had given me more than financial stability. It had given me perspective, authority, and the courage to choose mercy over vengeance, and that choice defined the kind of mother I wanted to be. As I tucked Emma into bed that night, she whispered, "Mom, I feel safe." And in that moment, I understood the real inheritance my grandmother had left, a life where love and dignity outweigh fear and rejection, and where we are free to write our own story. We had survived the hurricane, the betrayal, and the uncertainty, and now we were thriving. Our future wasn't defined by what others denied us, but by what we chose to build. And Emma would never again feel unwanted.